I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack because we've spent a lot of money on Puerto Rico, and that's fine. We've saved a lot of lives.
The president didn't have a script written for him in Puerto Rico yesterday, so he ended up insulting and demeaning the people of Puerto Rico, according to many observers. The president limited his visit to a relatively affluent area where the homes suffered relatively little damage. After resounding criticism of the president's visit to Puerto Rico, in Las Vegas today, the president's staff provided him with a written speech.
Our souls are stricken with grief for every American who lost a husband or a wife, a mother or a father, a son or a daughter. We know that your sorrow feels endless. We stand together to help you carry your pain. You're not alone. We will never leave your side.
Joining us now, Daniel Dale, Washington correspondent for the Toronto Star, who the president has blocked on Twitter. And David Frum is back with us. Daniel, I want to read this. Again, this is a tweet that you put out about Puerto Rico. It's part of what the reason that the president has banned you from Twitter. It says, and this is, you're quoting someone in your reporting about it, someone in Puerto Rico telling you, he takes 2 weeks to visit a disaster zone where 3.5 million American citizens live. He arrives with a smile on his face, makes fun of the situation, shows no empathy, lies and lies on camera as he does 24/7, and then throws paper towel rolls to people in need as if he was playing Go Fetch with dogs. And Daniel, that wasn't the only observer who saw it that way.
No, it wasn't. You know, it's hard for me here in D.C. to reach people on the island, but Puerto Ricans on the mainland I spoke to were flabbergasted, astonished, insulted, even though their expectations going into this visit were already low. You know, he had already spent a week demeaning them, and then he demeaned them even further in what I think, you know, by any astonishing by any conventional standard, you know, that was just an astonishing 4 hours he spent. We're used to it by now, but it was quite remarkable.
David Frum, there's a line in the Washington Post report tonight about the Tillerson matter, which is relevant to this. It says, and as Tillerson has traveled the globe, Trump believes his top diplomat often seems more concerned with what the world thinks of the United States than with tending to the president's personal image. And so the president apparently believes the Secretary of State's job is to enhance the president's personal image. But of course, the president is the person who does the most damage to that image.
Yeah, look, everything Daniel said is, of course, completely right. And yet, I have to say, I found Las Vegas Trump more unnerving than Puerto Rican Trump. During the second presidential debate, Hillary Clinton was asked, is there anything positive you can say about Donald Trump? And she praised his children, which turned out to be a little premature. They turned out to have some major law-abiding problems. But there is one positive thing you could have said about the pre-presidential Trump, which was that he was not a hypocrite. He didn't pretend to be a good man. He didn't pretend to be a God-fearing man. He didn't pretend to be a compassionate or a loving man. He was just Donald Trump. So, it's kind of unnerving when the presidential Trump goes into this hypocrisy and adopts, you know, and all of us who are believers, I mean, it has to be unnerving to us to hear someone take words like that are so meaningful to people for whom faith is important and use them so cynically and so incompetently because he can't mouth the words correctly because it's so not in his nature.
Daniel, what's your reaction to that? It's a very interesting point. I mean, would people have preferred that Donald Trump go to Puerto Rico with scripted remarks, or would they have preferred to see how he really feels about this?
You know, I think they would have preferred scripted remarks. I completely agree with David that I think there's an over tendency to fawn over the scripted, somber Trump, even when he's mouthing platitudes that are so obviously insincere. But I think the message he communicated to Puerto Ricans was that they were not even worth the gift of his insincerity. You know, he would not even go through the motions for them. He would not arrive with a prepared text. He would not, you know, even pretend to meet the bare minimum standard for a normal president. So I don't think, you know, people would have been falling over themselves to compliment him in Puerto Rico had he come more prepared and more friendly, less insulting. But I think it would have been superior to what we saw from him.
David, that's such an interesting point that the Puerto Ricans people can feel that they didn't even deserve the effort that Trump has to make when he's delivering the fake version of himself.
No, that as I said, is of course right. It's of course right. This is an idiosyncratic reaction. But from his first remarks at the White House after the Las Vegas shooting, that also is very false. And maybe the thing we're saying, look, if you're going to be insincere, then at least can you work a little harder at it? Can you fake sincerity a little more?
David Frum and Daniel Dale, thank you both for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.